Nonprofit Insider. My name is David Unger, and I'm pleased to be hosting a show with the executive directors and key people of our local nonprofits. I personally have worked in the nonprofit world for over 30 years. In those years, I've realized that the majority of the community does not know about the organizations that provide critical services and benefits to our community that we sometimes take for granted. This is a chance to hear about the organizations that touch so many in our community. The opinions expressed in Nonprofit Insider are not necessarily those of WMPG, its staff and underwriters, or of USM. Before we get going, I just want to tell everybody that Frankie was dancing on Saturday night at a wedding, and it was great to see him out there. That's my little personal shtick, so excuse me. Joining us today, we have two guests. We have Grace Valenzuela, Director of the Multilingual and Multicultural Center, and Tim Cronin, the Program Coordinator of the Center and in charge of Make It Happen. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
How are you today?
Oh, not so bad. We're glad to be here and get a chance to chime in.
Okay, well, great job on the weather, by the way.
There's always a first.
And at least you didn't say snow, so we're thankful about that. So, Grace, tell us a little bit about the center. What is it? How did it come about? Who do you serve? I know nothing about it.
The Multilingual Multicultural Center is part of Portland Public Schools, and it's been there since when first refugees from Southeast Asia came to Portland, Maine in the early 80s. And so it's been going in the Portland system for a while now. And what we do is we provide services, English language support services, to students who are learning English, new to the country, and as well as right now I also oversee the world language program for the district.
So how does this coordinate with the everyday classroom curriculum? Do they have to go extra hours, the students, or is it part of the normal school day?
So yes, some of it is part of the normal school day, but we also have supplemental program so that the students who are learning English can extend their learning time to accelerate English language development. So one of the programs that we do is Make It Happen. So we have students who are from grade 7 to 12, and we help them with creating an academic profile that will be attractive for colleges.
Besides the Make It Happen program, do you work with younger students also?
Yes, we do have we create summer programming for elementary and middle school students as well.
So you've been in the position for a while. What have been some of your frustrations of being a director?
So I'm not sure. I think we have joys is one of the things.
Very diplomatic.
We have joys is what we have. Just imagine a school district that is now over 30% language minority.
Okay.
And that has shifted from the time when I was in the classroom when we had.
Just so everybody understands, can you define what language minority means?
So students with a home language other than English spoken at home. And we have about 60 different languages spoken in Portland of students in the Portland Public Schools. And we have 30% of the population, about 2,300 of the 7,000 students enrolled in the district with another language spoken at their homes.
How does that affect the everyday classroom activities?
Well, not all of them are in the same levels of English language proficiency. So some are new, but some have been here for a while. So there is always a range of English language development among learners. So it creates, opportunities for teachers to provide differentiated services for students with different levels of English language proficiency.
All right, so I'm going to go back to the question that we kind of skirted around.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah.
You call it a joy, I call it a frustration. What's been your frustration?
So I think part of the challenge is one of the things is that we see Portland is a very diverse city, and we are proud that it is a diverse city. But I'm not sure that we have taken that stance that having a diverse population is an asset to the community, even among our language minority families. So because of the fact that they have to learn English, they don't see themselves as multilingual. And many of our students speak more than 2 languages already. So that in itself, in a world that is interconnected, having another language and being able to create bridge barriers in terms of cross-cultural communication is an asset. So I'm not sure that we have leveraged that in a way that is an asset.
Okay. So when I was an executive director with all my clients now, I always have what I call my aha moment. Something that I can sit back on and say, boy, did this work well, and I feel really good about it. What was your aha moment in this job?
That I learn something every day.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that could be said for a lot of different roles, and so this is a position where you encounter really interesting experiences with people from different parts of the world, and encounter their resiliency, their courage is another thing that I admire most about the families we serve. So those are we learn something every day. As I said, I always say to people that our kitchen in our office is is probably where the world meets, and it's an interesting conversation that happens there all the time, in different perspective, different lens that you bring, and how people think about issues.
Right. What has been the biggest surprise for you?
Surprises. I'm not sure about any surprises. I'm looking at them. I'm not sure I have I can't think of a surprise right at this minute, David. For me, it is always about, I'm not sure that it is a surprise. It's just the level of it's an understatement when we say people have gone through traumatic experiences and then how they come back and live in another culture and live a new life. That's a big challenge, and people come to it gracefully.
So, Tim,
Mm-hmm.
what's your role at the center?
I oversee a program that's called Make It Happen, and Make It Happen is an academic support and college readiness program for advanced multilingual learners. The program is data-driven in that most kids come here from somewhere in the world, or they've grown up here, but English might not be the first language spoken at home, but all of them experience reasonable and incremental success, but somehow the data started to show a plateauing of sorts. As students start to approximate language equivalency, many of them were starting to plateau with respect to advancing in their skills. And so the students who are at the upper tier of the language spectrum, who haven't quite attained language equivalency, we're focusing on those kids because some of those kids are stalling. And so this program targets those students officially. And what we're charged with is, one, to help them to attain language equivalency, but once they do, not to just say sayonara, but basically to help them all the way through to college and or wherever it is that they want to go. Make It Happen is also a college readiness and an academic support program. So what we do is what any parent would do if there might not be a language, a cultural, or an educational barrier at home, and that's to advocate for students so that they can hopefully reach and maximize their potential academically, so that they can secure college admission. 99 or some odd % of our kids wind up going on to college and or are college oriented. And two, a critical part, which is to help them secure financial aid as well. And so that, in a nutshell, that's what Make It Happen is.
And how do you provide the staffing? Are this staff volunteers, or are they paid, or how does that work?
It's actually pretty neat and interesting. People come from the AmeriCorps program. The AmeriCorps program is a huge partner of ours.
AmeriCorps is what?
AmeriCorps is, in essence, it's the National Volunteer Service Corps.
Okay.
That's in essence, it's a counterpart to the Peace Corps, except it's domestically based.
Okay.
So you have AmeriCorps instead of Peace Corps, and so it's really neat and spectacular, if you ask me. Young people and older people come and volunteer for a year of their lives. My phone is cut out. Are we still on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So young people or college graduates or professionals come and spend a year and donate a year of their lives and volunteer and serve as site coordinators at our 3 high schools and 3 middle schools here in Portland. And these folks serve as program coordinators and oversee the delivery of of services to our students, including the coordination of academic support from community volunteers who come into our academic centers and provide both content and language support. They also help students, and the AmeriCorps help with standardized test preparation and awareness. They also help, a huge part of it is the whole college app process itself.
Okay.
And then finally, we help students with developing the civic part of their profiles or academic profiles, in that we engage students in leadership, community service, and professional development activities like the Telling Room or Seeds of Peace and places like that.
Great. Well, it's time for our midpoint identifier, and along with that is our weekly trivia question. For those of you who don't know anything about the trivia question, maybe 10% of our guests get the answer.
Uh-oh.
That's hard for teachers not to get the answer.
I know. There's a possibility you will get this because you gave part of the answer already. So, the trivia question, I'll read it and then we'll go to our break and then we'll come back and get the answer, okay? As of April 2012, how many different languages are spoken other than English in Maine public schools? Not just Portland, but Maine public. And you can't look at my sheet to get the answer. Okay. This is David Unger, and I'm the host of Nonprofit Insider on WMPG 90.9 and 104.1 FM community radio of Southern Maine and Eastern New Hampshire. With us today, we have Grace Valenzuela, Director of the Multilingual and Multicultural Center, and Tim Cronin, Program Coordinator of Make It Happen. So, the trivia question was, as of April 2012, how many different languages are spoken other than English in Maine public schools?
Want me to give you the answer?
Yes.
75.
Me? I will guess 60.
95.
Wow.
Ooh, that's gone up.
That was in 2012. And that is out of 4,812 students. That was kind of mind-boggling for me.
Whoa.
And so, and if you go to the website and look up, you'll see all the 95 different languages and what school districts. So that was pretty interesting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the outcomes and what results you see and things of that sort. How do you track the outcomes? How are they measured?
Well, aside from the standardized assessment, the other things that we can track that we underestimate is the volunteer hours that we get from our academic coaches who come to make it happen, for instance. That's a good indicator of participation of the larger community. So we want the community to understand who our students are and get the benefits from our students as well in serving. So that's one way of tracking service. The other is the rate, the percentage of our students going on to post-secondary institutions.
What would you estimate that rate to be?
Oh, I would say the vast majority of our students, at least 96, 97% of our students go on to college, and we have a reasonable and we're proud of our track record in getting our kids to college.
Let's jump back for a second. When you talk about 96, 97%, how many students, how many seniors per year do you have going through the program?
Roughly 75 to 100.
Okay.
Right around 75.
So you have a really high percentage rate.
Yeah, it's pretty good in that, a lot of the students are they're naturally oriented towards college anyway. It's really the difference is that we're talking about which colleges they wind up going to and how competitive are their profiles. Most students with a high school degree can get accepted to SMCC, and many of our students do. It depends on where they're starting off, and so some students got here a year ago and don't speak much English. But some of our students have been here for not too many years, but through their hard work and the efforts and the advocacy of the site coordinators, the AmeriCorps, and very importantly, local community members who make a massive difference in these kids' lives. They've been able to secure admission to places like very competitive schools like Georgetown, Dartmouth, Bates, Bowdoin, Colby,
Great.
and many other schools.
So, Grace.
And the reality, David, for that is that the private liberal arts schools are the ones with scholarship money to give to our students. And we want to raise their academic profile from freshman year to challenge them to take the honors classes, so that they can have an academic profile that will be very attractive to those colleges that provide full scholarship.
Explain some of your other programs and, how it's a full-rounded organization. What else do you do?
The other ones that we do that is new right now for us is the World Language Department. So right now we have a new Spanish immersion program. I don't know if the city knows much about it. Right?
So why don't you tell us?
So we have Spanish immersion. It's a 90% Spanish program. So the teacher's speaking Spanish, the kids are learning Spanish, read math in Spanish, and that's at Lyseth Elementary School. We have one immersion class.
Let me jump back. So
Yeah.
the goal of this is to teach Spanish rather than English.
Yes.
So you're going opposite.
Yes.
Okay.
And for this is largely, of course, the people who want this are those monolingual English-speaking families, right? Because
Right.
they don't have another language, and they know that to be competitive in today's world, you have to have this global understanding and proficiency in another language. So they want to advantage their children. All of us do. So that's a program for those students, and we're building it one grade at a time. And what it will do, hopefully, David, is that our families who are learning English will understand the value of the languages that they already have and make sure that they maintain the languages. Because the reality of it, the languages that are spoken in Portland Public Schools are what the United States government identify as critical languages necessary in world affairs.
So how do you get funding for this program?
Oh, that one is locally funded, but
Okay.
yeah, it's just part
But
of another
overall
case.
for the center, how's your funding happen for the center?
Most of it is locally done. The ones that we raise funds for are programs like Make It Happen that does all of our after-school extended learning time.
And about how much do you have to raise per year?
Well, we want to raise more than the $10,000 that we have raised through Rock Around the World. And we also write grants, through the Maine Community Foundation.
Right.
And so we get funding from them. And it depends. Some years we get lucky, some years we are not. So
Right. So if you were going to talk to a donor about funding for your program, what would you tell them would be the value and benefit of contributing?
So one of the things that we have to remind people is that our collective future is interconnected, and so that the students that we have today, they're really our future for tomorrow. So we want to have an highly educated workforce to be able to be competitive in the world economy. That's one. And so we want that kind of a community here in Portland as well. So I think that's one of the things that an educated workforce is an important one. And students who come out who are civic-minded and will contribute to the community at large.
If you close your doors tomorrow, what would happen?
Oh, wow.
I think what you'd see is many students who are literally out of luck. I think that many of our families and students may not have the resources and wherewithal to hopefully find a path to success. I think what you do is basically it would be shutting the door on hope for some of these kids. Clearly, some of them would make it through, but I think this program, in essence, it levels the playing field, so to speak, in that this program provides the resources, the know-how, the soft
the
skills.
Make It Happen program.
I'm speaking about the Make It Happen program in this instance.
I want to focus in on the broader picture.
Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
So then there will be no English language learner program, is what it will mean, right? If you just say we don't have an English language development program for the school district, that's what you're talking about, right, David?
Yeah.
So when we don't have that, then who's the responsibility of providing that kind of support and services to students? It'll take them a long, long time. It'll be very difficult to educate students who don't have the language.
How would that affect the everyday classroom if your program wasn't there?
If there are no English language teachers, that will be a big challenge for all the teachers in the. Then the other important thing is there will be nobody who can communicate to the families who don't speak English. That's another thing that we do in terms of outreach with parents. So that's going to be very difficult to. I can't see it happening.
Right, but in the fundraising world, if the funding dries up, it's important to understand what would happen and the action reaction.
Yeah, and for perhaps our graduation rate will even be lower than what it is right now. So that's one thing.
This is not my opinion. It's not the opinion of the station or of WMPG or any of our underwriters or anything else. But what happens when you get the feedback of why do we need this program? And I'm sure you've gotten that once or twice.
Oh yes. We've heard that. We've heard that. My parents never had that.
Right.
So
how do you respond to that?
It depends on who's speaking, and most of the time, you've just explained how this is a community. If you want your community to have educated citizens, then you want to make sure that they're educated. And
So you're doing more than just teaching English.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
building community.
yeah, it's and making sure that they're integrated in the community is one thing to understand. And I really think that the United States does a better job than other countries in the world in terms of integrating its immigrants.
Do you have any questions for me?
Let's see. As far as prospective donors goes, do you have any thoughts about the profile on a typical donor? I'm curious about that. A donor who might support a program like ours.
I'm not giving you any names.
No.
I'm uncomfortable giving a profile on a typical donor for something like that. But I don't know how you search out donors, but there's different methodologies and ways of doing donor screening to kind of filter down the type of donor that you'd be looking at. Just based on what I learned today, even though I'm uncomfortable, I would talk about you would want to look for a donor who understands community, and the picture is bigger than just teaching language, but it is community inclusion.
Yes.
And
That's right. That's a nice word.
thank you.
Yeah.
I think donors a lot of times look for the bigger picture versus a specific program. So if you're able to tie it into how it will benefit the community overall, plus the individuals, I think you would have a good shot of getting some donors involved in that. But then you have to go into the whole concept of relationship-based fundraising and understand what that means and how you nurture donors and bring them along, so you just don't go and ask them the first time out there.
I have to say, David, too, I think Portland is very generous. I just want to say that.
Oh, it is.
It's
It
a
is.
very, very generous town, and we have been blessed in, when we knock at our doors. And this year, actually, our kids had an experience in terms of doing those cold calls with our merchants around for our silent auction, and they
That's a
actually enjoyed it.
challenge.
Yeah.
And they rose to the occasion.
There you go. There you go. Well, I think that's close to the end of the show. What do you think, Deb? Are we about there? Okay. So I want to thank both of you for being on the show this week. It was very informative for me. It was a subject that I know very little about, and I was able to gain some insight into it. Next week, we're going to have Ray Nagel, Executive Director of Independence Association. Music appears by courtesy of Mike Hubbard. You can find Mike's music on www.michaelhubbardmusic.com. Check out Mike's website to see where he's playing this weekend. I think he's playing at the Mercury Lounge in New York. Thanks to Deb Dangers, MPI's executive engineer. You can catch Deb on Morning Street Fridays at 6:30. You can post comments and suggest nonprofits on our Facebook page, and you can email me at npi@davidunger.net, and past shows are archived at www.tcmgr.com, NP Insider tab. Until next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You got a caller with a question.
What?
Caller with a question.
Call me?
Mm-hmm. And you asked to call us.
Contact.
Oh, how do you contact you?
So we have a website, and we have Twitter account and Facebook account. Our website is at mlc.portlandschools.org, and you can reach us as well at 207-874-8135. We are located at 353 Cumberland Avenue, Portland, Maine.
Live radio. What can you say?
Thank you.